Welcome everybody to Hearts and Minds Sales Training. My name is Eddie, and it occurred to me today that I've not introduced myself at all in any of these videos. And as we go through this video series, I'll tell you a little bit more about me and some of my experiences. But today is January 5th, 2026. And last week, we started our series on the 2nd of January. And we named off, if you haven't seen that video, go back to that video. We named off 4 things that really start building a foundation of your sales career and how to grow your business. And I did another video on the very first topic, which was being yourself. And this one is entitled Care About Your Clients. And caring about your clients can take many forms, and people, when they think about client care, they have different ideas about what client care actually means. And I want to start us off today with a quote. And I want you to remember this quote. If you've got a pen and a piece of paper, you might want to write this down. Very famous quote by the poet Maya Angelou. And she says, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel." Again, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. And that to me is the core of taking care of your clients. You want to make sure your clients know that you care about them, that you're giving your best to them, that you are invested in what their needs are. And there's lots of ways to go about that, and we're going to talk about a few of those today. But I also want to say to you too, taking care of your clients has very little to do with the service that you provide or the thing that you're selling. It has more to do with, that interaction with that client, and are you meeting the client's needs? So I'll give you an example of what this can look like. So years ago, I had this car, and I didn't have a whole lot of money, but the car was an older car I bought from my father. I paid cash for it. And I was so fortunate to be at least not have an auto payment at that time. And one day after a very hard rainstorm, I went to get in my car to leave work to go home. And as I started to back out of my parking place, things just didn't feel right. So I had my wife get in the driver's seat and drive away slowly so I could observe the car from the outside. And something in the back end was all bound up. In other words, the passenger side rear tire actually came off the ground. And it took some rocking the car back and forth to break that free. I feel like I've got a brake issue here that needs to be fixed now. So took it to a local mechanic shop, and I had used them in the past for different things. And, wasn't necessarily my favorite place to go. I didn't have any disdain for them at all either, but they were convenient to my home. So we went by there and took the car by and waited on them to give an assessment of what was going on with the car. And I was bracing myself that I was going to have to pay to replace the brake system, maybe the brake drums, maybe the brake shoes. I felt like I was going to probably end up having to pay hundreds of dollars that I really didn't have. And I was very shocked when the mechanic come to me and said, "You're done." And I went, "What do you mean I'm done? I was coming in for an estimate." He goes, "You didn't need an estimate." He said, "You just needed some treatment on those rear brakes. They had, because of the rain and the moisture, they had oxidized, and that's what was lifting that tire off the ground. So we just cleaned out your brake drums, and we lubricated everything real well, all the mechanical pieces, so that they're working again the proper way." I know lubes and brake doesn't sound like a good thing, but on this older car, that's exactly what it needed. And I think he charged me like $75 to get us back on the road. And here I was thinking I was going to spend $400 or $500. You know what that told me? That told me a couple of things. One, I didn't know anything about what was going on. They could have told me that I had to replace the entire braking system on that car, and I would have believed them. And instead of them taking advantage of me and tried to make a killing off of this repair, they were honest with me and they took care of my needs, and they valued my relationship with them over making a quick buck. And the whole time I lived in that area, I never took my car anywhere else. If I needed anything at all, even just an oil change, which I normally would do myself, if I didn't have time, I took it to them and had them do it. So they got a customer really for the lifetime of me living in that area. Now, I don't live anywhere close to there now, so I can't go there, but I was very impressed with their service. So that left me feeling like I was getting my needs met and I was being cared for. And I'll give you another example. And this one comes from my own sales experience. So I had a client not long ago that came to me and they were trying to get a mortgage. And they had been quoted an interest rate that was somewhere like 2% less than any interest rate that I could offer. And, they were calling just to, because that's what most people do when they're looking for a mortgage, is they call to find out what the rates are like. And me being me, I didn't just take that at face value. I said, I tell you what, can you do yourself a favor and send me over the estimate, the fee worksheet from the other lenders so I can take a look at it and make sure there's no hidden charges in there. And so they agreed to do that. So they sent it to me. And I started breaking it down, and I realized real quick that there was a fee that was in there, but everything on that fee worksheet had a dollar sign attached to it. But there was one fee that was just a percentage, and it had no dollar figure with it. And so it was 5%. And I figured out real quick, because I've been in the business for a long time doing mortgages, that this was a discount fee that they were paying to the lender. And I did the calculation for my client, and I said, what they're looking for is for you to bring an extra $28,000. That 5% was $28,000 of extra money that they want you to bring to closing so that you can get that rate. Now, what they're counting on is when it gets close to closing, and a lot of lenders do this, that they'll disclose to you, what that amount is. And if you don't have it, if you can't bring that closing, then you can always settle for a higher rate, but their rates at that point are going to be about the same as mine. So Mr. and Mrs. Client, what I want to ask you is, do you want to deal with somebody that's hiding things from you from the very get-go, trying to hook you in with some low rate that really isn't a low rate because it's going to cost you a lot of money? Or would you rather deal with a guy like me? I'm going to be honest and upfront with you about everything. I'm going to talk to you about your budget, your needs. I'm not just going to throw out a number out there. We're going to look at your entire situation, your income, your assets, everything that's involved in this transaction, and make sure it's a good fit for you. And you know what? From that point forward, they were loyal to me. And we were able to close that loan for them. And not only were they happy with the transaction, they called me after everything was done and said, look, we want to have you down to our house sometime. We want to have supper with you. What a compliment. I mean, and they live like 6 hours away from me, but I am going to take that trip at some point, and I'm going to take them up on that because, it's not every day a client invites you to come into their home and eat with them. And I consider that a privileged thing. So that's part of taking care of your client. You don't want to just do things. You don't want to throw out a banner that says 20% off and feel like that's good enough to, I might get you a sale, or 2% off the interest rate. Yeah, that might get you a sale. You might be able to finagle it into some kind of a closable transaction where you're going to get paid on it. But what have you actually done for that client? Is that transaction, that closable sale, is that going to get you a client for life? Probably not. Probably not. What's going to get you a client for life is that client understanding that you care about them and their needs, and you're going to be honest and upright, and you're going to give them the information they need to make a sound decision about whatever it is you're selling, whether it be cars, insurance, mortgages, real estate, whatever it might be. They're going to know that. Okay, so it's how you make them feel and how well you meet their needs. I just want to reiterate that. That is the key. So if you want people to remember how you made them feel, you've got to meet their needs and you got to let them know you're there for them. They're not there for you to put money in your pocket. You're there for them. And if you do it right, if you handle it right, they're going to refer all their friends and family to you. And your business is going to grow exponentially. I hope you get something good from this. We're almost to the end of the first week of the year. How are you prepping for the rest of the year? 52 weeks are going to go by pretty quick. You have to, every week, you have to develop your strategy for the week ahead. And we're going to touch on that pretty soon about what a strategy might look like as far as what you do on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays each and every week to grow your business and to gain more clients. That's it for today. I hope you got something good out of this. God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.